Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining Day One Dev channel. And today I'm talking about Spring Pet Clinic. I forked this project from a Spring project. I can see here Spring Pet Clinic. And as part of this, I forked it and I created a new changes capturing a CI pipeline. And along with that, I also documented some Docker file and Jenkins file, which does the entire CI pipeline, right? So just want to call out the objective here. I'm assuming that you have a necessary software on your local machine, such as a Java, Maven. If you're using a Maven, it should be Maven is required. But if you're using a Gradle, make sure that you have a Gradle, okay? And you have a Docker is installed on your machine, as well as some Jenkins server, 2.445 plus. So I'm using 448. I'll show you all that stuff. All right. So the big picture, if you see that architecture, the pipeline perspective, you can see here there's a job will be started. Then I have three main stages: code, test, container, and the job ends. But under code stage, I have three sub-stages sequentially. I can see here, that's why I created like this. The three sub-stages are clean, clone, and compile. That means I'm compiling a code of a Maven using a Maven command. And then I do have another stage called a test. Underneath, you can three sub-stages. There are all three sub-stages are parallel tasks. I'll go over that details too. And I have another stage called a container. As part of a container, I build, I tag a code, I tag up images, and I publish. When I say publish, they are pushed to a Docker repository. I'll go over that too here, and we're going to discuss. And finally, I'll clean my local repository. So that's where the job ends. So now look at our first stage is a code. I do have a clean. I'm cleaning a repository on my local, which is where the Jenkins server is running on. Because I have running only one node, I do not have an entire cluster on my local environment. Then I do have a pipeline where I was pulling only main because I forked only a main branch, and my repository has been here, which you are seeing it here. And I'm calling it just a compile, make sure that I'm skipping a test cases because I'm going to execute all the tests, multiple tests in a parallel task. So as part of a test, there's a separate stage called a test. Underneath, I have three sub-stages, unit test, check style, and code coverage. I generate HTML files, the reports are generated, okay? I will go over that too, high level, I'll show you that. And the third stage, which I was calling out, is Docker, where you can see there's some building image based on my PetClinic. I'm calling it as my, and the version, the tag is going to be the build number. And then I do a tag with my org or my within Docker Hub repository paths and my pet, and as well as we have a build number and also a tag a latest. Okay, there are two tags has been happening, one within a build number, the other one is the latest. And finally, I push them two images to a Docker repository because the latest is always getting updated whenever I push it. And finally, I clean it. So the one part I want to call out here, this requires a login credentials when you're pushing it. So I did build a credentials there, but I'll give you a high level, but I'm not going to show you my token key, how to do that. Okay, so now we are on a Jenkins project. So when I build my Jenkins, you can see here, I built today morning around, I think it's 7:40 or around that time. And this is one of my first job, which I did this because the reason I called it tools check to make sure that I have all the access, what all required to Jenkins. So I did some small checkout. You can see a Java version number, Git version number, Docker version number, and Maven version number. All right. So this is not interesting part, but just let's go to our main project as a pipeline. I'm using this is a blue version part. I'll also share a non-blue ocean view, how it's going to be by default. If you have not installed a blue ocean plugin, which I've seen this layout for at least the last 6 years. Okay, so this is what the entire pipeline is going to look like, the bigger picture. You can see here code and have a 3 steps sequential sub stages, clean, clone, and compile. Then I have a test. They are running a parallel, so they show like this. And I have a Docker. As part of a Docker, is a few of them are sequential, but under tags, I have multiple tasks. I will go over that, which is a build. And I'm creating a tags. You can see here images, tag numbers. I'm creating a multiple latest build substages. Then finally, I publish. Then I clean. This has to be sequential because I cannot do a parallel except this part here in Docker. All right. So once we are done with that, then you can see here my Docker repository has been called out here. This is the URL which I'm going to talk about this one. This is where it gets published. So I can see here I did publish a few minutes back. My final job has been created a minute ago. Maybe I should refresh that. And similarly, you can see that my last successful build what happened on a 10. So that's where it's ended up image. And the previous between a 10 and 5, there are a few, I added some nodes and there were builds were breaking. So you see a 5 and 10. Now we should see a 11. Now I'm going to trigger that. Okay. And finally, this is where we do all the stuff. Now, finally, after this image is created, I do have 2 options. You can test out this image. And one of the option, you can use the script which I'm providing you as part of this Git repository called mypetclinic.sh. It's a start and a stop. So maybe if you want, it's not anything interesting. It's a pretty much, you can also use a commands here, also provided Docker commands. You can do that pretty much the same. Or the script, you can, where is it? My PetClinic, you can see here, I'll open this in a new tab. Okay, so here I define some variables and I define, I think I'm not using but I pick the standard part. And I define some container ID and image IDs. And I'm doing some cleanup, which is not required as a function perspective. And similarly, I created a definition, you call a function or Java guides or methods. Start container, I have pretty much the same containers driving based on the parameters. And if you want to open this, because I've been configured this other script 7080, which you can see here, expose port has been called out here. So because I have a Jenkins running on 8080, you can see here. So that's what I was configured with an 7080. Then finally, I want to open it in browser and test it out because my Ubuntu device where I'm doing this job, it doesn't open command. If you're using a Mac, this command will work for you. And if you're on Linux command, it should be xdg open. So also capture that. Stop is pretty much the same. I'm stopping it and cleaning the images to save my storage. Okay, now this is where it comes up here and that stuff. So you can see here the first one, I'm checking for argument, whether it's coming up in a start or it's empty argument. I'm setting a default as a start and the script is a trigger. Okay. Now let's go to pipeline, which I want to talk about before we do it. Setup wise, I'll show you my configuration. So that way you know that the Jenkins pipeline has been pulled from GitHub. I can see here just I do not have anything much project on my local GitHub project. I just provided the URL of my Git repository. And you can see here my pipeline is coming from a SCM script. So you have to make sure that this is the one. But if you use, there is another option called a pipeline script. You can copy paste the entire Jenkins file as part of that. But I'm driving that from a Git repository, my entire Jenkins file. Okay. So SCM gate, the URL, this is the one I can see here. And I defined my branch because it's only a main branch where the script is. And then finally, what's the file name? So if you are using any custom names, please go for a Jenkins file name. But sometimes I do my other works, I define multiple files required for Jenkins for dev and QA. I define a .dev.QA or .staging or .prod based on the scenarios what I'm doing it. Okay. All right, now the one part which I want to talk about credentials, which I'm not going to show you, but how you can see that here I documented. You can see here my Docker Hub credentials has been here defined it. So the reason I explicitly calling out that part in my script, I think we don't need this. Let me open Jenkins file, which also I called out in a higher level. You can see here I defined my credentials, Docker credentials. They're coming from my user ID password. I'll log in here and they it's good. But doing for me this one or doing an echo of this variables, they will not print. They print as an star. If you are not familiar with it, Jenkins pretty good whenever we call with credentials, you need to try to do echo. They are pretty good. They don't print it. They print as an a star. So that's one good part which I seen that in most of the projects. Okay. Now let's start a build. Right. So now if you want to see that in a graphical view, you can see that this is the way one view. I'll try to bring in a two views. Let me see whether you guys can, that way you can see a different views how pipelines has been triggered. Oh, let me go to the 11 job. All right, and pipeline overview. Okay, so I hope you can see. Let me minimize this so that way you can see the multiple jobs in one place. Both are pretty good, but different layouts. You can see the back one going over within my Blue Ocean plugin. This one is not a Blue Ocean plugin. This is a standard. It's coming up. So you can see here the parallel jobs are running here. Multiple stuff you can see here. And this is one good part. When you do a parallel, if you want to save a time, they're not dependent on each other. For example, I cannot do this a clean on a parallel clone because they have to be sequential one after the other. So you can see here I'm doing in stuff. I know there is some audio you might experience. The reason is my CPU running higher, especially on using a recording as well as my browser and Jenkins server. This is a pretty old device. I'm using it on my to run this kind of experiments. Especially I do that. Okay, so once pretty much your two parallel test cases are done, now it's going on unit test case. You can see here once the unit test case is done, then we'll step into Docker. This is what I'll show you where you cannot, when I'm doing the authentication for publish, you can see that it will not print out because of the encryption. So let's give a minute, and also I'll share on a parallel once we are pretty close to this parallel task listing out. I'll share that information. We can go here and we can see that the job 11 will be pushed to here to our Docker repository. Right. So maybe I'll close the jobs which are not required. So you can see here I don't have a 10. Let's see where we are. Still it's on our unit test cases. My machine might be a little slow because of too many things going on. Let me see there. I can close a few things. Okay, maybe I'll bring down one browser. It might bring up for me a memory. I know even each tab takes some part of a memory. If you guys are not aware, so let's see where does my job is, or we can go to. I can see here this is going on. The script is going to be long, so let's come to my project. Okay, let's see whether we can do. Other way, let me show you. You can see the job console format. If you guys haven't seen that, I can see here big part. It's keep on running these logs. So generally, I don't. Only when it breaks, I go for that and look into that. So you can see here, these are the pretty much I configured, and you can see pipeline steps also. detailed view. You can see how I configured the number of stages and all the stuff, the parallel jobs. This is a beauty I like, especially when I'm using Jenkins a lot. But especially on production deployments, I never used Jenkins. I used products like Agro CD and Spinnaker. We used it a lot at my previous place, but my current employer, I cannot do or use this third-party products. I have to be more on Amazon code pipelines. I have to be. All right. So you can see here, this is where my Docker is getting in. There's a command it's getting in, login success. You can see here. Let's see. Perfect. This here. It's logged in successfully. It's pushing images. You should see here any minute once. Oh, it's logged out. That means I should be ready here somewhere in my 11 job. Perfect. There you go. We are successful on bringing our job. Let's see, the job should be successful for us. Where is it? Okay, pipeline. There you go. Perfect. The job looks good. Entire stuff is ended. So no issues on this part. Okay. Now the second part, we'll get on it. Okay. Which is our pipeline. Okay, you might be seeing my screen here. A couple of things. Okay, this is a Docker. It's pulling, taking a longer time. Let's. Okay, so we're gonna pull latest one. I don't need this job. I'll go over this, and I have pretty much last my check-in. You might have seen it. So I'm gonna use my PetClinic SH, which you can see here, because there's a good part you can see here. I'll clear the screen. It's not required for me. I have on my PetClinic. Oh, maybe let me show you. I do not have any images on my local, so that way you know that I'm not having anything. So I can see here container because I cleaned all the images using a Jenkins because I'm running the same repository. So it should be good. That's one good part. So nothing is on my side. So I'm gonna execute my pet. I'll use a start. Okay. So you can see here if my argument is thing, I just print out for a debugging purpose. Some argument length is a 5, and it's downloading image. You can see here I got this image, and it started my pet clinic. And I'm going to open this on a 7080. Oh, this doesn't work. Okay, no worries. All right. Oops. 7080, not 7080. All right, my container is running here, and also I'm tailing the logs, which I want to just call out here. You can see here after I start a container, I tail logs. So just watch out that part. If you're seeing this something, that doesn't mean that you're messed up your container or nothing. So I just tell a logs for especially if I'm doing this kind of a task on development level. But when I deploy on beyond a dev environment or sandbox environments, I do not use these logs. I let the backend jobs doing that stuff. All right, so you can see here, and that stuff, this is running over my local repository, which is using a HSQL. This is not connected to any database. It's independent. So some reason you add some data here, go for it, and kill the container and bring it back. You might not see that data here in the system. Okay. I hope you have felt something good, and I'll stop the container. And when I stop the container, oh, maybe before I stop it, let me show you Docker. I should have some images on my local now. You can see here, which we did it. And I'll stop it right now. I can use the command. Okay, I stopped it. So now after I stop it, so also I'll see an image. So what I'll do is I'll clean. I have provided a clean script. It will clean up your local repository, everything. So now it should not. Oh, I have some bug, I think. Cannot be forced. Okay, error cannot be forced. I need to see why it's picking up this one. I'll fix that bug, but definitely I'll call out this part. I'll try to commit this change. But there's a good, at least the application is working, the Docker container, and hope you have a better understanding when you're deploying this project on your any dev environment. All right, and I do suggest is read the original documentation. This is in a 3-tier application. I did not call out a lot about that because my understanding is you are reading the documentation. I should have called it here. This one, read the original documentation. This talks about entire how the application has been built out and how this 3-tier application has been configured. There is a tech also provided here, presentation slide. Go for it. The entire application calls out. All right. I hope you learned something interesting on this project, and I hope I'll get back to you guys on newer videos. And meanwhile, do subscribe to Dev and Dev. All right.